If you are a writer in the English language, there's a chance that you've heard about the hero's journey so much you want to throw up. But unless you're nerdier than the average D&D player, then you probably haven't heard of my favorite plot outlining method. This is a great method because it's flexible. It's great for people who don't want to outline everything in advance, and it's fun because it's the opposite of the hero's journey. Tabletop role-playing games, for your information, if you haven't played them before, are collaborative improvised storytelling. There's usually a storyteller who makes up most of the world and most of the characters, but each player will narrate the action of a single protagonist, typically. So what this means is that the game master, or storyteller, or dungeon master in Dungeons & Dragons, they control all of the bad guys and all of the supporting characters, and they have to be able to adapt on the fly because they don't know what the main characters are doing because the players are making it up as they go along. And so it's a very different skill set than traditional writing where you're in control of everything. And my particular favorite framework comes from a game called Dungeon World. You have to be so nerdy that Dungeons and Dragons is too mainstream for you to play games like this. But it has a system for outlining fronts, dangers, and grim portents, or impending doom, that I love. It's the opposite of the hero's journey. It's the progression of a danger or evil. This is the type of framework that is perfect for a quick NaNoWriMo write if you don't know what else to write, or you don't know where the main characters are, or you have some idea of who the main characters are but you don't want to plot everything out. Create a cool sounding danger, cool sounding front, and then work through the danger, its impulse or motivation, its impending doom, the grim portents, some mystery questions that can be answered for them, and then, what characters might be involved in these particular dangers. Hey! Quick interruption. So, my mission is to fix the internet for sci-fi and fantasy creators and fan bases. I think there are reasons why it is so hard to build a following and support yourself. Mainly that most websites aren't built for building communities and fan bases. They're built so large websites can advertise to your audience, and so that's just hugely broken and insane. It should not be as hard as it is to create a following and support yourself on creative work. That doesn't mean everyone's going to get there, but I would like more people to be able to support themselves with their creative work. That's my mission. This channel is just the beginning of that. I want to build better websites and tools. If you like and subscribe, you can help me build the channel and more quickly get to a place where I can build you tools that will make this whole business of writing thing easier. So please, like and subscribe, share. That's great. That too, yes, please. Or tell me, if this video is not good enough to earn your like and subscribe, tell me below in the comments what I could give you that would be more valuable. Thanks. So Dungeon World encourages you to organize your events or your plot around fronts, and this is a big world-ending or at least world-changing event. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad, but it does have to represent a good degree of risk or change, something on a large scale that's really going to shake things up. Now, to this front, you will add 2 to 3 dangers as their example. You can play with the specific numbers because these are tuned towards short play sessions rather than novels. But certainly 2 to 3 is a good number for starting, and they give examples which are tuned a little bit to fantasy, but they could be adapted to other genres like sci-fi, etc. So one source of danger or example of danger they mention is ambitious organization. So that's essentially something, political, armies, countries, guilds, etc. Then they have planar forces, what they call planar forces, or extra-dimensional beings, danger from outside. Then you have arcane enemies who are just super powerful or unnatural enemies from your world. You have hordes, which are kind of mindless or mindless mobs or armies or, things that you can't be reasoned with. And then you have cursed places that kind of spread some kind of ill. And now, of course, these are designed for a very specific, dungeon world, a D&D-esque setting, but you could add your own dangers in there, like natural disasters or diseases, etc. For each danger, there's an impulse or motivation, like what this danger is heading towards. And you can use that to architect an impending doom, i.e., the big bad thing that happens if this danger is left to its own devices, taken to the extreme, etc. So before the impending doom, you can outline some grim portents, a sign that this danger is progressing that will become more and more intense. Now, if this is like the primary danger of a novel, like the primary focus of it, then these grim portents will get amped up as the heroes fail. But if this is maybe more of an ancillary thing where the hero has to fight on multiple fronts, then, this could be something that they've been ignoring, and these grim portents amp up at a sign that, like, all right, I have to deal with this because it's becoming an emergency now, right? And so they could be potentially taking fire from multiple dangers. I would say fronts, but that would confuse it. Hopefully, for most books, you probably have one major front, one major event that's shifting things up, although you might have different antagonists, right, and dangers within that. So the danger has an impulse, it has an impending doom, and it has grim portents. Their recommendation for the number is like 1 to 3 for one-off adventure, but that's like a few hours of people sitting around, or 3 to 5 for a campaign, i.e. several adventures. But to be honest, this is a novel, especially if this is the main danger of your novel, you'll probably need more and you could play around with that. But the idea is to have a series of these, and typically these might be escalating, but sometimes they won't apparently be connected. That sometimes the fun of a really good supernatural mystery is maybe you have several weird things that are happening that seem disconnected, and then you actually find they're all part of one big nasty thing that's occurring or unfolding. So you have that, add the grim portents, and then you add a few stakes questions. What are the mysteries that get answered, or potentially could be answered, as protagonists involve themselves with the danger or confront the danger, etc. And then lastly, just list the characters who are involved. Of course, these could be antagonists, these could be just supporting characters that have some kind of connection, or might be some of the people that through which the grim portents are displayed. It could even be main characters that have some kind of connection to this particular danger. That way you have a grip on how the danger works, who is going to be affecting the most, and where it's going to be showing up. So, an example. I thought I'd take a sci-fi example just to show you that you could use this outside of the fantasy framework. So, we'll maybe take a classic sci-fi front, First Contact. What are some dangers? We might pick a couple of ambitious organizations, for instance, a government and a secret society, and have them both involved for a very political novel, if that's the direction we wanted to head. But I thought it might be interesting to think about how planar forces might become a danger here, or extra-dimensional beings. And maybe one of the things that's going to be interesting about this novel is it's not just about First Contact, but there is a more advanced species that is monitoring the First Contact, and if the First Contact does not happen according to its principles or values, it's going to really mess stuff up. And so what I picked, and this is an example from the book, they have different types of extraplanar beings. I chose a chorus of angels whose impulse is judgment, i.e., right, they're watching the proceedings, and if the government doesn't muck things up on its own, or the secret organizations don't muck things up on their own, the conflict that they cause might still cause this greater species or that's watching and judging to step in and take control of the reins in a way that might not be good for the species making First Contact. So that is the danger, And I'm not going to flesh out the organizations. I'll go just flesh out the extra-dimensional being, these chorus of angel or choir of angel force. So the Doom, I think, just off the top of my head, going with kind of a better Thanos, right? Thanos has this crazy idea that, like, all right, the universe is overpopulated, so, like, regardless of planet size and development, I'm just going to kill half the beings in the universe. That seems really ridiculous to me. However, I could see an interdimensional race of beings that, if they think other species are beginning to get to having first contact and beginning to get to a place where they can have a bigger impact on the universe, they might handicap those species if they threaten to go into interstellar war in a way that would impact the greater species, or if they make some kind of exploitative pact or contract that would somehow harm the well-functioning of universal systems, etc. So, in short, that impending doom is that they will trigger seemingly natural disasters on the species' first contact planets. We'll assume maybe they're single contact planets, and this group polices the expansion from single contact or single planet species into multi-planet species, i.e. you can screw up one planet as much as you want, but as soon as you start expanding, they take notice and they will mess you up if they think that you are going to go about expanding in a way they don't like. So that is the doom, basically, that they'll Thanos these populations with natural disasters and set them back, maybe until they're prepared to interact peacefully or sustainably or whatever. So the grim portents of this, they might reach out metaphorically or kind of subtly in dreams, or give dreams of prophecy, right? They might give some warnings without exposing that they exist. They might turn an organization, or i.e. create defectors from the government, for example, or the secret society, right? And so that might be a sign that there's somebody else interfering, and the main characters might figure out that, like, all right, if there's these defectors from the government and the defectors from the secret society, there's some kind of third party going on here. They might expose unwanted truths, i.e. if they feel like these organizations are doing things that are not in the long-term best interest of the species or the universe at large, they might then expose the flaws of that organization to handicap them. Right? If that fails, they might create direct conflict, and ultimately they might, the last warning before they destroy the planets is they destroy peace talks. And so theoretically, if this were like the main danger of the story, the main characters could get to the destruction of the peace talks, but maybe there's some Hail Mary thing they can do to prevent the destruction of their planets, even if the peace talks fail, right? And then that's the last impending doom, is if they fail to do that, then, if they haven't discovered this species and made contact and convinced them they can change, then the species will then nuke their planets. Metaphorically, they'll cause natural disasters. So kind of some stakes question. I think there's going to be mystery around, like, what is this third influence, and, like, where are they? Questions around, are aliens more advanced than us? Maybe these two civilizations that are having contact for the first time, these two alien species, are somewhat comparable with, like, slightly different technologies, but you have this third species that is much more advanced, perhaps that played a role in the development of both of them, but doesn't hesitate to unleash natural disasters when they're headed in the wrong direction. And then perhaps also there's a main character who has a crisis of a belief, right? That the possibility of extra-dimensional beings or machine elves or something else influencing humanity, might kind of create a stakes. It's not really a question, but I guess, can so-and-so bring themselves to believe in and act on and protect themselves from an extra-dimensional threat would be kind of more of a stakes question. And then the characters, obviously there's like the higher beings. I feel like they would be hands-off enough, there wouldn't be a lot of them, but I might want to think of like who is their mouthpiece, and do they, as inscrutable as these aliens are, do they have some kind of style or motivation or something about them that is unique that will interact with other characters? You might have kind of the prophets or defectors, the people influenced by these extra-dimensional aliens that might have their own very flavored, idiosyncratic understandings of what these beings are, but do feel like someone from out there is communicating with them. And even though like each of these individual people, like they don't have an organization or a shared understanding of what these extra-dimensional beings are, that, you know, there's a pattern characters and the reader can observe to their behaviors, right? So I might flesh out some of those. And then lastly, there might be a connection to a main or supporting character. Like I said, if there's a character that's particularly particularly skeptical, that they kind of have a challenge to believe in this, and that's going to be one of their struggles. Maybe there's a character that's particularly quick to believe in, something out there, and that could be a differentiation between characters. So go ahead and try this out. I would love to hear in the comments below what you come up with. So share your fronts and dangers and dooms and grimportents with us, and your stakes questions. I'd love to hear them. Bye. See you next time on the Ubiquitous Tavern.